Today I thought we'd talk a little bit about the vision, because I didn't really get a chance to get into it. And the only response I had at that time was basically, I'm a clean slate, like don't have, what I've been talking about is not operating from the personal will, not operating from the mortal mind set. And one of the popular teachings in this day and time, in New Age, and a lot of spiritual traditions is you can create your own reality. And the law of attraction and those things. And it's nothing new, it's been around for ages, But one of the pitfalls with that is that people want to create from their own mortal mind, their own personal will, what they think they want to create in their lives. And when you're operating from that place, you're operating from a place of duality. You're operating already from a place of separation, of a place of not enoughness. And to first align yourself with what is. See, if you're so busy trying to create something else rather than first embracing what is, some people will even say, oh, you're just beating the drum of what is, right? Well, beat the drum of what is, because what is reality. And if you can't embrace what is, don't think, if you can't find God or Spirit or whatever name you want to use in the here and now, you'll never find it after you materialize your Lamborghini. That's right. Because even once you materialize your Lamborghini, you'll be happy for 2 minutes. You'll be all excited you got your Lamborghini, and then you're going to be stressed out about where to park it. The mall, wherever. You're going to like park it far away from everybody, hoping nobody goes near it, but everybody's still going to go near it, right? So today I want to talk a little bit about the vision, and the vision doesn't come from me. The vision comes from us, from the we. It's the collective. And today we'll do a little meditation to receive the vision. Because there's one thing of trying to create a vision. Sometimes you just know within your heart what it is you want to create in your life. And that's something you receive. It's from within you. That's from your core desire. And that's different from what I'm talking about. That's like the seed from Spirit given to you to manifest, That true desire from within your heart's heart desire, That's different. When you're moving from that place, and that's definitely your higher calling, your higher vision, right? But when you're just operating of, I want to manifest this, I want to manifest that, and they're never happy, and it's very exhausting. I talked about a couple gatherings ago about the mole, hitting the mole in the head. You're healing this, and you're operating, because it's just so exhausting, because you're constantly trying to get to someplace else. And once you even get to that place, if you get there even, because a lot of people don't ever get there, and then they beat themselves up for not getting there, and once you even get there, you're not satisfied, because your whole process is geared about getting to the next step, getting to the next place. And so the now is just a means to getting to some other end. And so you totally miss the presence of peace and harmony and joy that is beyond the polar opposites. See, what happens is people are so into deny everything negative in your life and just choose love, or just choose the positive. But then what happens is you're polarized on one end of the spectrum. And when you're polarized on one end of the spectrum and you don't embrace the allness of what is, that's what the Taoist has, a very powerful symbol of the black and the white, the darkness and the light. And even in the darkness and the light, there's a spot of the dark in the white and a spot of the white in the dark. It's a very powerful symbol because it encompasses all that is. It's the allness, it's the fullness. And the Tao is that which that can not be named. If you think you know it, you don't know it. And so, if I'm to get up here and think I know something, or set myself up as a teacher, or a healer, or any of that stuff, then I'm closed off from allowing the divine to work through me. It's been very nerve-wracking in a lot of ways for, once I started moving towards this awakening to divine mind thing, everything that I started to believe started to be dissolved, started to dissolve. Sometimes you feel like your hard drive is being dissolved, or erased, right? And then I'm going through this transition, and spiritual transition, so to speak, and I have to then talk about it and explain it, and I haven't fully downloaded it, and then I'm really like, well, it's like I'm used to speaking, but I had nothing to say, so what am I going to talk about? And then, showing up and not having anything to talk about, really, to really just be an open space. I was never a person that really had, notes and stuff when I would talk or give a talk. But at least I had an idea, or a reading, or something to anchor, But to not even have that, but to really just be an open space. It was something new for me. And initially it was kind of nerve-wracking, because the mortal mind wants to know, What are you going to have it? You know, it's going to have that outline of structure, you know? And then to create something that's not so full of structure, like something like this, because we talked about in the first gathering about a space where you don't have to really label it or identify. Because once you label something, you've separated. Again, that's duality, that's separation. Once you've labeled it, you know, I can label these flowers and analyze them, but I'm separate from them. But I can be aware of them, be very present to them, and become one with them. That's the difference from just seeing the truth that in the midst of it, it's just one. There's just that, you know, go deeper into anything, there's just this oneness. You know, there's this unified field. And so what's happening, we're living in a day and time where humanity is becoming more and more polarized. The waves of polarity are increasing. You're getting bombarded by what's going on with the earth changes, and the earth is definitely going through her stuff, and you're feeling all these different waves of energy coming through the earth. The earth is transforming. The stars, oh my God, have you been feeling the star energy lately? The stars and what's being transmitted through the stars, and the sun is obviously a huge star, is going through its changes. So that's bombarding. You're getting hit every which way, and then it's bringing up all that we've suppressed, repressed, all that is dark that we refuse to look at is coming up for humanity to really have a clear idea of what it is that we've chosen to become. What it is. Do we still want to go down the path of trying to manifest the Lamborghinis and trying to get this personal self, this selfhood apart from the divine, constantly trying to improve this selfhood? Or do we want to step back into realizing that we're all one, that there's this oneness, that there's this unity, that we're all, like my lotus plant, you know, there's one plant, but it keeps popping up, and there's all these different lotuses coming out, there's all these different leaves coming up, and it just keeps spreading, and it'll take over the whole pond if I don't contain it. But it's just one plant. But you see all these different plants coming from the oneness, right? So the same thing from us. We're all these different plants. But if you go into our roots, there's just one of us here. There's only one, right? This awakening of oneness. And so obviously when we awaken to the oneness, then we treat each other a little better, right? We'll be able to treat each other a little better. We'll end the polarizations, right? Now some people are focused on the love and the light, and we'll just send love out, we'll just send loving thoughts out. They're only increasing the polarization. You know? A lot of times we have to rethink what we know in times of shift, because like I said, once you think you know something, you've cut yourself off from further realization. Once it's like the cup, it's full. There's no space for anything else to come into it once you're full. Which reminds me of a kind of a story or kind of a joke. There was this man that had read all these spiritual books, and he was really a knowledgeable person. And he went to see this mystic in India. And the mystic in India lived in a small hut. And this man was from the West, and he came there, and he was happy to meet this mystic master. And he went on and on about, I studied this, and I did this, and I studied this, and I did this, and this book, and this, and I studied with this teacher, and I did this tradition. He's just going on and on about himself. And the mystic listens for a while, very patiently, and then says, would you like a cup of tea? Interrupts him and says, would you like a cup of tea? He said, yeah, sure. And he just continues to go on. He didn't really interrupt his self-absorbed process. And so he comes with the tea, and while the person's talking, he's pouring the tea into the cup. And the cup fills up, and he's continuing to pour. And the cup fills up. He's talking about himself still, but then the tea's getting his attention. He's like, what are you doing here? The tea's falling all over the place. It's falling all on the guy. And then finally, the master got his attention. He said, you are like this cup. You're so full, there's no space for anything else to enter. Yeah? So the emptiness, a lot of even in the Buddhist traditions, they would go to the space of, they call the divine the void, the emptiness. Because once you enter into that emptiness, that spaciousness, it's like there's nothing for the ego to be really attracted. When you talk about this kind of teachings, there's nothing about for the ego to really be attracted to it, because it wants the cars and the manifesting this and that. That's really lovely to the ego, because it just, I can manifest this, I can manifest that. That's an attractive teaching to the ego. But when you talk about becoming nothing and dissolving and dissolution, the ego's not attracted to any of that. Because there's no selfhood in that. There's nothing that will give it more of itself. Because it's living on this ghost-like falsehood. And so your awakening is the death of the false part of you. so in an aspect, you know? And so it's afraid of death. The ego hates death. It hates change. It hates transformation. So it loves to do everything it is to keep things familiar for us. And so entering the mystical path is when you're surrendering what you know and what you think your life is about, and you're opening yourself up to the mystery. It's a whole new way of living because there's so much trust, there's so much faith. You know? There's so much this inner reliance. Your reliance on your own guiding system within yourself. Not on some spiritual authority outside of yourself. And that's the other thing that's perforated. Perforated, what's the word? Not perforated, but
Proliferated.
Huh?
Proliferated.
That's the word. Proliferated, that's the word. It's proliferated is this seeking, that people are in this seeking mode, but they look to somebody else to give them the answers. And whenever you look to somebody else to give you the answer, you've cut yourself off from your own knowing. Sometimes, yes, it can be very helpful that somebody outside can mirror your own truth too back to you. But then again, these people start to, these spiritual teachers start off with a very pure intention to serve and to help and to give of their wealth of information. But what happens, I've seen, is the more and more people that are attracted to them and they're teaching them, power starts to take over, the ego starts to take over, and they become corrupted channels. Because then it becomes all about them and then what the people projecting onto them. It's very hard to get out from under that mask. And the people love it because now all of a sudden that they have somebody telling them what reality is about. And then they don't have to do their own work to discover it for themselves. Somebody's telling them, it feels good, it feels right, I believe what this person is saying, and then they become followers, and they just got to listen to tape after tape, read book after book, or whatever, and then you become like the spiritual treadmill. You're just not going anywhere, but the treadmill's running, and you're just going. And there's always improvement, there's always a movement forward, because you can't really stay still in life, but it's a very slow, long-ending process until you finally say, I'm tired of this treadmill, I'm going to get off, you know? Or you just get, you get so into this cult-like teaching or whatever it is. There's so many, one part I didn't get to share about my own journey last time is the part when I went guru hopping. You go bar hopping? I call it guru hopping. For a period of time I was attracted to my own ancient roots of India, and I would try, and all of a sudden this guru would show up with this teaching or this profound technique that was going to give me enlightenment. Then this one and this one. And I always thought something was really wrong with me because I couldn't surrender myself up to any one organization or path, at that time. But there was something that I was searching. I was looking for something, right? But I couldn't buy into the system, whatever it was. Now in hindsight, I say the only way you can really get any type of real change is if you buy into the trap of the system, whatever it is. But the system is ultimately a trap because the ones that I saw, at least, I can speak for definitely, were traps as I look in hindsight because the people lost their own logic and it was codependency, and then finally I was in India at one point and I got the message. I started doing this heart-centered meditation that I shared a couple of gatherings ago, and it just got a very clear message, forget these gurus now, focus on the inner guru. And that was cut the strings for me. And I believe that that's, really the real teacher, the real truth, what it is we're seeking. What we're looking for is what we're looking with. You're only looking for you in anything. And if you don't find you won't really find what you're really looking for. You can manifest all the material goods, and it's good to enjoy life and to enjoy the material stuff. We're given a body, we're in this world, we should enjoy the goodness of the world. I'm not saying anything that's wrong with materialism, or to have good material stuff. The materialism itself is another issue, but to have good things in life, or good to have good qualities, I'm not saying that's fine. But to need something outside to make you feel whole, that's where the error occurs. You need something outside of yourself in order to feel whole, to feel complete. And then you'll never be complete because nothing outside of you can ever make you feel whole. If it makes you feel whole, it's temporary. And then once that wears off, you need more. And then that creates this whole compulsive addictive society, this whole compulsive addictive mindset. And we've been talking a lot about the compulsive addictive stream of thought that's always going on in the mind, and how when we step back from it, last time there was a reading from the Tao Te Ching about stepping back from the mind, the wise one understands all. Stepping back from the mind, the wise one understands all, knows all.